Hi. Welcome to Lily's Story channel. If you like my channel, please like and subscribe. Now the story begins. The year Christian loved me the most, he cut off all contact with me, because rumors claimed my jealousy had killed his sister, yet he still married me. Everyone said he was madly in love with me, but one day, his eyes bloodshot, he gripped my neck tightly and hissed, "If you want to die, just die. Stop your pretense and sympathy-seeking, you don't deserve it." Later, as death neared for me, he found himself weeping and kneeling by my hospital bed, begging me not to leave. The year Christian loved me most, he cut off all contact with me. It was because others said it was my jealousy that killed his sister, yet he still married me. Everyone said he was madly in love with me. That day, he gripped my neck tightly, his eyes red as he said, "If you want to die, go ahead and die. Don't feign innocence to gain my sympathy, you deserve a lot worse." Later, I really was about to die. Yet, he knelt by my hospital bed, crying, begging me not to leave. Today, we gather here to celebrate our boss, Mr. Christian's birthday. Hearing that all too familiar name, I froze momentarily. I cautiously looked up, following the sound. A young, beautiful girl, smiling radiantly, affectionately clung to the arm of the man beside her. Clearly, their relationship was more than just professional. Christian sat under the lights, his gaze tender, exuding a cool, dignified aura. In the 5 years we had been married, we had met only a handful of times. Even so, at just one glance, I recognized him. And as his wife, I was the last to know about his birthday plans. I gave out a bitter laugh. It wasn't always like this between us. Christian and I were childhood sweethearts. The year he loved me most, he broke off his engagement with Ruth. But just a few days later, his sister committed suicide by jumping off a building. Everyone said it was my fault. During that time, he broke off all contact with me. Later, he blocked my way at the airport, desperately forcing me to marry him. "Anna, don't think about escaping. I want to trap you by my side and torment you for a lifetime." I knew he despised me. I heard that his recent mistress was Ruth. At first, I didn't believe it, until I saw it with my own eyes today. I was wrong. I overestimated my importance in his heart. "Mrs. Page, let's eat together," someone called out. I snapped back to reality, just in time to meet Christian's cold gaze. He was handsome, with naturally deep-set features, but now his eyes were icy cold. I shivered and turned to leave. His brow furrowed slightly. He didn't even glance at me as he coldly said, "Is dining with me so unbearable?" I bit my lip and remained silent. Suddenly, a severe pain struck my lower abdomen, and I rushed to the restroom. Looking at the fresh blood in the toilet, I sighed. The doctor said I probably wouldn't live until next spring. Treatment could make my remaining days more bearable, but I had no money. I had already spent all my savings on my mother's medical treatment, could only pretend not to see it, pressing the flush button. At the sink, Ruth was touching up her makeup, seemingly untouched by time. "Anna, why do you look so pale?" She approached with feigned concern, smiling sarcastically. "You're not dying, are you?" The mirror reflected my face, pale and bloodless. She was right, my days were numbered. Seeing that I ignored her, she snorted in contempt. "Anna, do you even remember who you are? Being a waitress here is an embarrassment to Christian." After saying that, she provocatively curled her lip and patted my face. This was the real her, utterly detestable. I smiled at her. "I suggest you figure out who you are first. I'm Christian's lawfully wedded wife. It's not your place as a shameful mistress to point fingers at me." Her expression turned sour as she grabbed my sleeve in a fury, yelling, "You're old and ugly now, how can you compare to me? Just wait, one day, I'll be Mrs. Page." Maybe. But I didn't want to entangle myself with her any further, smiling as I pushed her hand away. "Stop." She stormed towards me, but accidentally stepped on her skirt and fell to the ground. The sharp door handle gashed her arm, leaving a deep wound. I quickly went to check her injury, but she shoved my hand away and burst into tears. Her cries were heart-wrenching, drawing everyone to surround us. Christian quickly made his way through the crowd and embraced her, asking in concern, "Who did this?" Ruth pointed at me without hesitation. She knew there were no security cameras in the restroom, and I couldn't prove my innocence. Just like back then. Miss Parsons, it's true I'm with Mr. Page now, but is loving someone a crime? She sobbed as she spoke with conviction. I love Mr. Page as much as my own life. No matter how you treat me, even if you separate us, I will always love him. Christian looked at her with even more affection, gently wiping her cheeks with a handkerchief, coaxing her. Sweetheart, don't cry anymore. It breaks my heart. I stood quietly, watching the scene unfold as if I were just a spectator, had already told myself not to be sad for him. Anna, apologize to her. Christian said coldly. I frowned and shook my head. I won't, I didn't do anything wrong. He glanced at me, then instructed the manager standing by, don't pay her until she admits her mistake. We knew each other too well, he understood my personality and knew my weaknesses. This was the second time he tried to buy my innocence with the money needed for my mother's treatment. I clenched my fists tightly, tears welling up in my eyes. On our wedding night, he offered me a monthly allowance of $100,000 to admit that I was responsible for his sister's death. But I hadn't done it. How could I destroy my own innocence? I returned his card and took this job to barely cover my mom's medical expenses this time. It seemed I really had to bow down. I took a deep breath, about to apologize, but Ruth fainted. He tenderly picked her up and walked past me without looking back. Christian hadn't come home for a week. I was used to it. He never informed me of his plans, and I, knowing better, never asked, but I had run out of painkillers. It was only then that I realized a sad truth. Besides Christian, I had no one else to contact. After much hesitation, I still dialed his number. Annoying, you're really bad. From the other end of the phone came Ruth's ambiguous gasps. I stared at the name on the phone screen, unable to snap back to reality for a long time. Didn't know how the call ended, but I just felt a severe pain in my stomach. I told myself it would pass if I just endured it. I did not sleep soundly, sweating profusely. In a daze, I thought I saw Christian sitting by my bed, softly calling my name. It felt like a return to 5 years ago. That year, I had a persistent fever, and he had just taken over the company. Not wanting to hinder his future, I went to the hospital alone. That night, he flew back from abroad. The moment I saw him, my eyes filled with tears, yet I stubbornly said, "Why did you come back? What about the company? I can take care of myself." He gently took my hand, smiling. "Anna, nothing is more important than you. Remember, whenever and wherever you need me, I'll be there." He looked into my eyes, firm yet gentle. At that moment, I wanted to be selfish. I carefully grabbed his sleeve, whispering, "Chris, don't leave, okay? Just stay with me for a while, just a little while." A sharp pain woke me up. Christian was sitting by the bed, wiping my sweat with a tissue. It turned out this was not my delusion. "Why are you sweating so much?" he asked with concern, as if he still loved me. But remembering that phone call, I only felt his hypocrisy. I turned away, not letting him touch me. Christian's face darkened, and he forcefully turned my shoulder, his voice low. "Anna, what are you so mad about? I came back as soon as you called. What more do you want?" So he messed around with other women, and I should be grateful. Sorry, I couldn't. Enduring the pain, I looked into his eyes, my brow slightly furrowed. "Christian, stop pretending. Aren't you tired?" He suddenly lunged at me, veins bulging on his neck. "What am I pretending? What right do you have to say that? The hypocrite isn't me, it's you." He hurt me badly. I tried my hardest to push him away, but he grabbed my hand, his eyes red. "Do you know how worried I was? I came over as soon as I saw your call, afraid something happened to you, and this is how you treat me?" He roughly covered my lips, and I couldn't break free, so I bit his mouth. "Amid the bloody taste," he persisted. "Anna, is it so hard to admit you're wrong?" His kiss nearly suffocated me, but thankfully, his phone rang. "Christian, my wound is inflamed again. It hurts so much. Can you take me to the hospital?" Ruth cried out to him. Christian threw his phone aside, whispering in my ear, "Just admit your mistake, and we can go back to how things were." What a shame, there was no turning back. From the moment he chose to believe the rumors over me, we couldn't go back to how things were. I had thought about talking things through with him, but every time we met, he reeked of alcohol. Misunderstandings and arguments, there was never a chance. Disappointment accumulated slowly, and hope faded. I turned my head silent. He slammed the bed hard, then got up, took his clothes, and left. After Christian left, I received the bill for my mother's treatment. It was another hefty sum. Didn't sleep well, thinking about selling the jewelry the next day to pay for my mother's medical expenses. At the pawn shop, as soon as I opened the jewelry box, the owner's eyes lit up. He smiled and asked Mrs. Page, "Are you sure you want to sell this haute couture Australian white pearl necklace?" He held it in his hands, examining it closely. "This is top-tier Australian white, worth $500,000. Mr. Page really loves you." Indeed, Christian had given me the necklace 5 years ago. I was so busy taking care of my mother that I had even forgotten my own birthday. Only Christian remembered. He stood foolishly at the hospital entrance with a cake and a gift box. The weather was cool that night, but my heart felt warm. I didn't have a gift prepared, so I plucked some foxtail grass by the roadside and made a pair of grass rings, treasured them, suddenly kneeling on one knee, and asked seriously, "Anna, will you marry me?" I laughed and said yes. Time flew so fast, reminiscing about the past felt like it was just yesterday. I had almost forgotten that Christian really loved me once. The grass rings had long since dried up, and I always felt that something should remain, at least to prove that we had once loved each other. "I'm not selling it." Before I could finish, Ruth snatched the necklace from me, frowning. "This pearl necklace is really beautiful, much nicer than that dry grass ring you gave me before," which fell apart in a few days. Christian paused, then indulgently said to her, "If you like it, it's yours." I grabbed the necklace back, tears swirling in my eyes, and stared at him as I asked, "This was your gift to me, how can you just give it to someone else?" He said indifferently, "Is that so? I forgot." Ruth tried to snatch it back, but the necklace suddenly broke. The pearls fell to the ground, clattering like needles, piercing my heart. "Mr. Page, I didn't do it on purpose." She jumped into Christian's arms, frightened, smiled, patted her head, and took her to the jewelry store next door. I watched the pearls scattered on the ground, foreseeing my fate. On the way home, my mother called. She hesitated, then carefully said, "Anna, maybe we should stop the treatment." I held back my tears and choked up, "Mom, don't think too much, we'll continue the treatment." I heard about new advancements from doctors abroad and bought a ticket for the next available flight, even if there was just a sliver of hope, had to grasp it. Unexpectedly, just as I was about to board the plane, Christian appeared. "Anna, trying to run away again, like you did 5 years ago, without saying goodbye?" He questioned me in a low voice, his presence cold and somber. Before I could respond, he roughly grabbed my arm and dragged me into the car, his eyes red. "You've been waiting for this day for a long time, haven't you? It's been 5 years, and it seems you still haven't given up on leaving me. Don't forget it was you who sold yourself to me." I remember, of course. 5 years ago, after Warren's accident, I wanted to go abroad to find better treatment for my mother. But at the airport, I received news that her condition had worsened. The surgery only needed $50,000, but I couldn't come up with the money. Christian blocked my way, offering to trade my mother's life for the rest of mine. I agreed. The memory of that day was too harsh. I wouldn't have thought of it again if he hadn't brought it up. "Your life, including your very existence, is mine." He must have been furious, ripping off his tie and throwing it aside, then fiercely kissing me. I trembled in fear, pounding on his shoulders, frowning and saying, "Christian, you're hurting me. I just wanted to find a better doctor for my mom," but he wouldn't believe me. Like a beast, he tore my dress and was deaf to my heart-wrenching cries. Didn't know how long it took, but I eventually ran out of strength. "Anna, don't think about leaving. You owe me, and you'll never be able to repay it in a lifetime." The car windows were foggy. Christian was breathing heavily, whispering in my ear, "Then I'll give you back your life." I looked at him, vacant-eyed and utterly desperate. His deep pupils suddenly contracted, his expression full of disgust as he said disdainfully, "Then just die. Stop pretending. Don't try to elicit my sympathy, you don't deserve it." His words pierced my heart. Despite the pain, I began to laugh through my tears, looking into his eyes and saying, "Christian, you know I've never lied." With that, I pulled out my hairpin and stabbed it towards my neck without hesitation. If I had no attachments, I wouldn't fear death. But my mother was still waiting for me to visit her. The thought of living flashed through my mind, and I loosened my grip. Christian scoffed, as if mocking my cowardice. He drove me home but secretly took my phone and keys away. By the time I noticed, he had already locked the door. "Christian, you bastard, let me out. I still haven't paid for my mom's treatment," I shouted loudly, using all my strength to bang on the door. His tone was very cold. "You think I'd believe such a poor excuse? Just stay there and don't even think about leaving me." Only a door away, I suddenly felt he was a stranger. As he walked further away, I had no choice but to drop all my dignity and kneel on the ground, crying and begging. "Please let me out, I beg you." Despite my cries, he never looked back. During this period, I could hardly close my eyes. I was afraid of the night, afraid of sleep, afraid of my mother's face fading away in my dreams. I desperately tried to grab her hand, but it was in vain. "Mom, don't go." I don't know how many times I woke up, tears already wetting my pillow. Outside the window, it was pitch black, with dark clouds covering the moon, as if a heavy rain was about to come. Suddenly, the door opened. Without even bothering to put on shoes, I ran barefoot to the living room. Ruth held the keys to the house, appearing like a mistress. When she saw me, she smiled and approached me with a gaze full of hostility. "Anna, I'm pregnant with Mr. Page's child. Soon, Mrs. Page's position will be mine. I came here to tell you to pack your things and leave." Christian has always been sensible when it comes to women, never gets himself into trouble. But he has repeatedly indulged Ruth, and her pregnancy must have received his approval. Perhaps he really loves her. I calmly responded and quickly passed by her, with only one thought in mind: to go to the hospital and visit my mother. Ruth grabbed my arm with a rude and arrogant attitude. "I advise you to take the initiative and divorce him, otherwise, you'll be kicked out of this house with no dignity." I turned around and smiled at her gently, saying, "Is it more shameful than being a mistress like you?" She turned red with anger. I shook off her hand. With a furrowed brow, she shouted loudly, "What are you in such a hurry for? Your mother is already dead. There's no one who will stand by your side." As soon as she finished speaking, my body suddenly felt weak. "It's impossible, she's lying to me," I repeated to myself over and over again, but my confidence was diminishing. Rain started pouring outside, cold and piercing as it hit my body. I staggered towards the hospital. What awaited me was an empty hospital bed, devoid of my mother's kind smile. I knelt beside the bed where my mother had once laid, crying for a long time. Don't know when Christian stood behind me and draped his coat over me, but I no longer needed it. Angry, I threw the coat aside and slapped him across the face with red eyes, asking him, "Christian, I've lost everything. Are you happy now?" He wiped away the blood from his lips with lowered eyes and tightly grabbed my wrist as if warning me. "Don't make a scene, come back home with me," but I no longer had a home. I looked at the bloodstains on the ground of varying shades, as if reminding me of the hardships I had endured along the way. With all my strength, I said hoarsely, "Christian, I'm dying, why do you still want to torment me?" I tried my best but couldn't break free from his grip. He suddenly pushed me to the ground and furrowed his brow as he asked, "What about Warren? She could have lived happily ever after. Why did you have to kill her?" A sharp pain in my lower abdomen became unbearable, but I mustered all my strength and said, "It wasn't me." Blood continued flowing down my legs, staining the ground red. This time, there was more blood than ever before. I had almost no consciousness left as I weakly collapsed on the ground. "Anna, don't pretend to be sick and deceive me. I won't be lenient," Christian said coldly. Only when he lowered his head and saw the blood spreading towards his feet did he panic. He clumsily picked me up and rushed to the emergency room. I don't know how long I slept for. All I heard were Christian's angry outbursts, multiple times, his voice becoming increasingly irritable. "No matter what method you use, cure her for me, otherwise, don't let me see you again." And why attending physician lowered his head nervously and became flustered. "Don't trouble him. It was my decision to give up treatment," I whispered on his behalf. Upon hearing my voice, Christian quickly walked to the bedside and tightly held my hand with concern. "You're sick, why didn't you tell me earlier?" I sighed disappointedly and looked into his eyes. "You've rarely come back home. whenever we meet, it's either arguing or giving each other the silent treatment. Have you ever given me a chance? In fact, my medical records were right there on the bedside table in our bedroom. All he had to do was turn around and he would see them. But he never noticed them. On countless nights filled with heart-wrenching pain, I dialed his number more than once, but all I received was a cold message saying the number you dialed is not available. Gradually, I stopped placing hope in him and learned to face life's hardships alone. I'm tired. Let's get divorced, I said calmly. A trace of indescribable nervousness flickered deep within Christian's eyes, stared at me intently with red eyes. I disagree. Don't think that just because you die means you're free. Your life belongs to me. Want you to live well. But once someone falls ill, money alone cannot save them. My condition has reached an advanced stage. Things are very bad, just refuses to admit it. The next day, the hospital room was empty. Just like when I was sick and hospitalized before, I was alone. I had gotten used to it. I opened my phone and saw a video circulating online titled "The Truth Behind Warren's Suicide." I didn't have the mood to pay attention to it. All I wanted was to go home. The nurse told me that my mother had completed her discharge procedures herself. She said she missed home. Since she was admitted to the hospital, she hadn't been back. As soon as I left the hospital, a group of reporters blocked my way, claiming to seek justice for Warren. "Mrs. Page, why did you push Miss Page off the rooftop?" I walked against the crowd and calmly replied. "I did reach out, but I didn't intend to harm her. I wanted to save her," someone quickly retorted. "You're lying. You were the only one with her when she jumped off the building. Who else could be the killer if not you? I really don't understand why Mr. Page married you. You must have used some despicable means to deceive him and climb to Mrs. Page's position." They only believed what they thought was right. I didn't want to waste time, so I decided to speak directly. I am Christian's lawfully wedded wife. Whether you understand or support it, that is the truth. A woman standing in the back row continued relentlessly, loudly asking. "But from what I know, Mr. Page no longer loves you. Why are you occupying Mrs. Page's position?" That voice sounded familiar. It was her. I stopped in my tracks and looked at Ruth hiding in the last row, smiling as I said, "Miss Baker, divorce is a matter between two people. It takes two hands to clap. If you have time, try persuading Christian." She lowered her head guiltily and dared not meet my eyes, stood up straight, raised my head proudly and said, "If I have done something wrong, I will admit it, but if it wasn't me, just wait, I will find the real culprit." After speaking, my stomach suddenly cramped and I fell to the ground, unable to stand steady. "It's karma catching up with you. You wanted to maintain a pure image, but now you're facing retribution. Why pretend? I hate people like you who feign illness for attention. Isn't this emotional blackmail?" They stood there coldly watching and speaking, but no one came forward. I forced a bitter smile, took a deep breath, and endured the pain as I got up and left, returned to my hometown. The swing in the small courtyard was still there. Tears welled up in my eyes uncontrollably. My mother had built it for me with her own hands when I was young. She said that if other children had something, I should have it too. She raised me all by herself, and every little thing we experienced together seemed like yesterday. As I approached the swing, I noticed an envelope placed on it with my name written on the cover. Tremblingly, I opened it and immediately recognized my mother's handwriting. "Anna, by the time you read this letter, Mom will already be gone. Miss Baker was right. I would only be a burden to you. Without me, you will live a better life. Don't be sad about my departure. Separation and farewell are necessary lessons for everyone's growth. Take care of yourself." Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably, but how could I not be sad, Mom? After crying for a long time, I discovered another letter inside signed by Warren. The paper had turned yellow. "Sister-in-law, thank you for being by my side during my illness, but Miss Baker said depression cannot be cured. I don't want to be a burden to all of you. I asked Auntie to give you this letter before leaving. Why now? You and my brother must be married. You love each other so much. Please always be happy." Warren's smile appeared in front of my eyes. She was such an innocent girl who should have had a bright future. But fate had other plans. I had a rough idea of who the real culprit was because both letters mentioned her name. Wiping away my tears, I took the letters and went to find Ruth. When I arrived, Ruth had just finished a meeting with Christian. She smiled and opened the door to the conference room, walked up and slapped her hard on the face with furrowed brows. "Ruth, you killed Warren and also killed my mother. Hasn't your conscience hurt?" She pretended to be pitiful and covered her face while saying, "Miss Parsons, speak with evidence. Don't make baseless accusations. If you continue causing trouble unreasonably, I'll call security." I smiled as I showed her the letters. "Well then, lucky for me because I have evidence." Her face turned pale instantly as she hurriedly snatched the letters from my hand and tore them into pieces. Little did she know that what she tore were blank papers, and this action just proved her guilty conscience even more. I handed the real letter to Christian while Ruth still persisted and grabbed his sleeve saying, "Don't believe it, it's all fake, she forged them." I thought he wouldn't fail to recognize his sister's handwriting. After reading the letter, Christian impatiently shook off her hand while exuding an aura of fury. "It has nothing to do with Methy chose not to live anymore." Her voice trembled with fear. "You knew Warren was mentally fragile. Why did you say those things that would provoke her, and why shift blame onto Anna?" He tightly gripped her throat while his eyes turned red as he interrogated her harshly. "Because I love you. I couldn't bear seeing you break off our engagement for her sake, no matter what price I had to pay as long as it made you hate her." She spoke righteously. I couldn't take it anymore and slapped her hard. "You don't understand what love truly is. You're just unwilling, but that shouldn't be your reason for killing them. What business do you have coming at me?" She pushed me away forcefully as if she had gone mad. I lost my balance and fell to the ground. It was just a minor bump, but blood flowed profusely once again. Christian hurriedly took me to the hospital. On the way to the operating room, he held my hand tightly, his eyes filled with reluctance. "Don't sleep, please don't leave me." He kept calling my name over and over again, but I found it too noisy and I wanted to sleep. Christian found the best doctor and saved me from the brink of death. I saw the sunrise once again. Christian lay by the bedside, holding my hand like a child peacefully asleep. Heard that he kneeled outside the emergency room for the entire night. I looked at his face, still as young and energetic as ever. But in my heart, he was no different from anyone else. I gently pushed his hand away, but he tightened his grip with a frown. "Anna, you're finally awake. How do you feel? Are you uncomfortable anywhere?" He opened his eyes and asked anxiously, just like before, caring about every detail of my well-being. As if nothing had happened in these 5 years, but the pain he caused me was real. "Christian, I have no grudges against you anymore. Let me go, let's get a divorce." I looked into his eyes seriously and said. His dark eyes instantly filled with panic, and he said with red eyes, "Anna, I've been wronging you for so many years. I've done so many foolish things. I know you resent me." He held my hand and pounded his chest with it, begging me humbly, "You can hit me or scold me, just don't divorce me, please." I shook my head and smiled with relief. "I neither resent nor hate you, I just don't love you anymore." My love for him had faded away with time. But he looked at me firmly and said, "Then let me make you fall in love with me again." But he forgot that even if a broken heart heals, there will still be scars. Christian comes to see me every day with flowers in his hands. "You know, I'm not 18 anymore." I advised him not to waste time and money on me, but he stubbornly refused to listen. However, in recent days, he only comes late at night. I wonder what he's busy with. I heard on the news that Christian won a brilliant business battle and made the Baker family bankrupt. At the same time, the phrase "Ruth killed Warren" topped the trending list. Clarification videos spread all over the internet. There's no need to guess it was Christian's doing. What a wicked woman, she caused 2 deaths and still shows no remorse. She even maliciously edited videos to frame Mrs. Page and destroyed someone else's family. A shame for us women. Internet users left comments one after another. I glanced at them, closed my phone, and went alone to complete the discharge procedures. In my final days of life, I didn't want to linger in the hospital struggling to survive. I returned to the old house where my mother lived and sat on the swing in the yard, basking in the sun, unknowingly falling asleep. When I woke up, it was already evening. Christian stood quietly beside me, allowing me to lean against him perfectly. Instinctively, I sat up straight and kept my distance from him. A hint of loneliness appeared in his eyes, especially lost as he looked at me. The doctor said you were discharged, but you also know your current condition, you can't leave the hospital temporarily. He took my hand and walked towards the door. I tried my best to break free, but he thought I was being stubborn and held me horizontally in his arms. I became angry and bit his shoulder. The pure white shirt showed a vivid bloodstain. His face turned pale. He groaned lightly in pain and said through gritted teeth, "Listen to me, come back with me and receive proper treatment." I slapped him hard out of disgust and yelled at him, "Christian, I'm not your pet that comes when called and leaves when dismissed. I'm a living person with thoughts. I need respect." He stood frozen in place, slowly releasing his grip as if wanting to say something. Before he could speak, I preemptively said, "You also know that my time is running out. I just want to leave quietly. Please go away. I don't want to see you." Tears welled up in his eyes as he gently grabbed onto my sleeve and cautiously asked, "Do you remember? We promised never to part ways. Let me stay by your side, okay? But youthful promises are like mirages, they will dissipate without any wind blowing them away. We have long drifted apart. Without me, you'll be fine." I pushed his hand away and walked past him without looking back. Just as Christian left, Ruth suddenly barged in. "Sinan, I know you're here. Don't hide from me. Come out." She searched every corner of my house but couldn't find any trace of him. It had only been a few days since we last met, but her mental state seemed unstable. She ran towards me frantically and said imperiously, "It's all your fault, you fox spirit. You stole my Sinan away. It's all your fault." As she spoke, she picked up a vase from the table and threw it forcefully onto the ground, shattering it into pieces. But in an instant, she knelt down amidst the shards of glass and cried out to me, "Sinan ignores me now. You must be able to contact him. Please let him see me once, please." The fragments pierced her skin, leaving traces of blood on her body. But she seemed oblivious to the pain. All she wanted was to see him. I called Christian again. Soon, he arrived at my house holding a bouquet of roses. "I knew it, you still have feelings for me." He looked at me with a smile, but his expression turned cold when he saw Ruth. Impatiently, he said, "What are you doing here? Leave me alone. I warn you, don't disturb Anna." Ruth rushed to his feet, grabbing his arm tightly, crying desperately, "Christian, I can't be without you. Our child can't be without a father. Don't you want us anymore?" I almost forgot, she was still pregnant. Christian disdainfully shook off her hand, his face darkening. "Ruth, I haven't even touched you. Don't think I don't know about your inappropriate actions with the HR manager just to get close to me." So she was lying again. She couldn't accept the reality of her lies being exposed and muttered absent-mindedly, "No, I didn't do that. It's not me." Sadly, she couldn't fool others but herself. Ruth collapsed on the ground, crying one moment and laughing the next, looking disheveled. Is it worth losing oneself for love? I felt a pang in my heart and asked Christian to send her to a mental hospital. This love game was destined to have no winners. In the middle of the night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. I opened the door to go out and clear my mind, only to find Christian sitting drunk at the doorstep. "Hey, Christian." Upon hearing my voice, he slowly looked up at me, hesitated for a moment, and then suddenly smiled. In that second, I saw him as he was 5 years ago when he successfully proposed to me, smiling foolishly yet sincerely. 5 years had passed in a blink of an eye. Christian took out a gift box from his pocket and handed it to me. I took it and opened it to find the broken pearl necklace. "It has been repaired perfectly, not a single bead missing, and it shines like before." I smiled and handed it back to him. He forced a bitter smile. "Since I gave it to you, there's no reason to take it back." I crouched down and placed the gift box in his hands gently, saying softly, "The necklace you gave me was already broken. Even if it's repaired perfectly, there will always be hidden cracks that can never return to its original state. It no longer belongs to me, you keep it." A touch of sadness appeared in Christian's eyes as he silently stared at the pearl necklace for a while before speaking. "I agree to divorce, but I have one condition. Promise me you will go abroad for treatment. The chances of my surgery being successful were slim, and it would require a large sum of money." I was about to refuse when he looked at me affectionately with slightly reddened eyes. Anna, I can accept being separated from you and living as strangers, but I cannot accept bidding you farewell forever. I know you don't want to owe me anything. Consider this money as a loan from me. There's no deadline. When you're better, you can repay me. I looked at him with relief and nodded gently. He smiled too, but tears started welling up in his eyes, suddenly hugged me tightly and whispered, Anna, I'm sorry for losing you. I thought that would be the last time I saw him. Unexpectedly, the surgery went smoothly and I regained a new lease on life. After returning home, I found a job at a newspaper. The salary wasn't high but enough to support myself. Occasionally, I would come across news about Christian's recent activities, became involved in charity work and became a famous philanthropist. We were both moving forward on our own paths. Several years later, I finally paid off the money I owed him. On a clear sunny day, I met Christian again. He was dressed in a sharp suit and stood out in the crowd. He didn't approach or exchange greetings after our long separation, just looked at me from afar with a childlike smile on his face. The green light turned on. We smiled as we passed each other by and continued on our own journeys. Today's story is over. Thank you all for listening.